Culturally, how has African families passed down family wealth?
Not all Yorubas follow what I'm about to share, but particularly where I come from. So let's say you have 3 children. You have a boy and 2 girls. If you pass, the wealth will be shared into 3. The wife will take 1 part. The man's younger brother will take 1 part. And then his son will take 1 part. Whatever the mother and the son decide to share with the daughters is what the daughters get, yes.
Kantamanto is a busy business area in Accra, Ghana. So one of the businesses there, the husband and wife, they didn't go to school. And to them, because they don't have high education level, that's why they took the kids to school abroad. That business is making over 200,000 cedis every day, but the kids are not interested.
There's this regular saying that everything I didn't have growing up, I want my children to have it. Now that is the undoing of the next generation.
I see.
The discipline, hard work, everything that you had that helped you to build that successful business are the things that we shield our children from.
So I'm buying a land at Airport Hills. If you were to do a hierarchy of what is the most important system to put in place for me, Derek, to protect my wealth, what would it be?
You create a special purpose vehicle.
A new company?
Yeah.
And then I buy it in the name of the company?
Absolutely.
But then that means that I need to pay corporate tax on that.
So the truth is that
this conversation is on wealth preservation, wealth creation. You might get some tips and tricks here, so don't change this for anything. And if it's your first time here, leave a comment. I'd love to know. And when you make it to the end, I'd also want to know. Hi, Abiola, how are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me here.
You're absolutely welcome. I get a phone call from one of my friends who says that he was at a place called Kantamanto. Kantamanto is a busy business area in Accra, Ghana. And that one of the businesses there, the family has been running it for over 30 years. But the parents sent all the kids abroad. That business is making over 200,000 cedis every day, but the kids are not interested. What happens with African businesses?
Wow. You see, this story is very familiar. Very familiar. It's more like the stories that I hear every day because of the type of work that I do. I'm a family business advisor. I've been managing family offices. This is my 10th year. I have managed one of the foremost professionally managed single family offices in Nigeria. And now I manage a multi-family office. And what is a family office to even start with?
Yeah.
A family office is set up by ultra high net worth individuals, or should I say wealthy families, who want their wealth to be institutionalized, who want to build a system and an infrastructure around the wealth that they've built so that it can perpetuate multiple generations. And if you know how most Africans tend to build their wealth, it's largely from business and real estate, mostly. So you have family businesses that are built, run by the founders for maybe 20, 30, 40 years, and then maybe the founder passes or something happens because the next generation has not been brought up to speed, do not understand what those businesses are about or how to steward the wealth that the first generation has built. Everything goes back to square one when second or third generation is about to also get into business. So what usually happens is that you have the second generation raised by the first generation. They enjoy the wealth that is built by the first generation. That's why they say the first generation builds the wealth. The second generation enjoys it. The third generation destroys it. Or they don't even find anything and they start all over again. So you find that on the African continent, we don't have businesses that passes from generation to generation because we don't put systems behind those businesses. They're not properly structured, and there is no succession plan that ensures that the next generation is already in queue, ready to take on the baton. Do you see? There's a story I often say I went for a conference in 2019 in the US. This was a conference that brought family businesses from all around the world together, and family offices as well. Family businesses and family offices, all their representatives. At that conference, we were only 2 blacks, 2 Africans, out of a room of over 100 people gathered from all around the world. It was bad enough that we didn't have enough African representation at that conference. But what was more shocking for me was that we had representatives of family businesses from across the world, some of them in their 9th generation, some in their 16th generation. And I interacted with these people, and it was so interesting to see that family businesses are succeeding generations in other parts of the world, and it seems like something that we're not even used to in Africa. So I came back from that conference and I began to think, why is this not possible on the African continent? What are we missing? What are we not doing very well? You know what I found?
What did you find?
I find that a lot of African business owners or African wealth creators, many of us, not all, but many of us, majority, did not come from wealth. So we go into the hustle and bustle. You eventually make it. Maybe luck smiled on you. You were hardworking. You did something for yourself. You were able to build something. What we usually find is that there's this regular saying that everything I didn't have growing up, I want my children to have it. Now that is the undoing of the next generation.
I see.
Yeah. The discipline, the hard work, the rigor, everything that you had that helped you to build that successful business are the things that we shield our children from. So we send our kids abroad to go get, education, which is not bad in itself because, that exposure is also great. But you see, what we don't do is to build the roots and the values. Create a system that transfers the values that helped us to build such successful business and ensure that we engage this next generation from when they are very young. So they understand that they're already part of the family business by mere fact of the fact that they were born into that family. They know that they have the option. Of course, give them options because the truth is not all of them may be willing or interested in running the family business. But guess what? The fact that you are part of this family means that you cannot say you are not part of the family wealth that has been created because whether you like it or not, you're an inheritor. So even though you may decide not to be an operator of the family business, meaning working in the business, you are groomed intentionally to be able to steward it, govern it, make sure it grows. So even if you're not working in the family business, there is the education that the first generation must ensure they give to the succeeding generation that allows them to govern the business. Meaning, even if we hire people from outside to run our family business, the people inside who are the owners of the business must understand the meaning of responsible ownership and have the skill set and the competencies to be able to grow that business while other people are operating it. That's the part that we miss.
I was playing golf with one of my friends at Bok in Accra. And the conversation on the golf course was really interesting. Daddy seriously wants me to work in his business, but I'm not interested. And sometimes the way Daddy goes on about it, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. And also sometimes it makes me feel as if I can never meet up to his expectations. So for that reason, I want to do my own thing. How do families deal with that?
That's also another issue. And I think it's preparation on both sides. And I think also the communication as well. For family business owners who have created something really successful, the last thing you want is for that thing to go down the drain, even though it does happen. Which is why some people may want to force their children or just trying to force it down their throat. But that's not the way to go about it. It's about communication on both sides. How are you having that communication? Because if the second generation feels like this is an obligation, as opposed to this is something that I have a choice and I can bring my best skills and everything to it, and the way they would approach it when they feel it's an obligation versus something that they really developed interest in and they can see how they can take it to the next level, the difference is always very clear. I believe that the conversation between the first and the second generation sometimes should be brokered by a neutral third party.
They don't listen. Especially the fathers.
Oh, yes, I know. The fathers are usually they are the stubborn ones. But I've seen a few stubborn matriarchs too. I think that the first generation need to understand that their children want to help if you allow them. There's a point you come to as a first generation wealth creator where you have to stop seeing your children as just children. If you have invested enough in your children to give them foreign education, allow them go to master's level, maybe they've even worked in some other places, it means that they have built enough expertise that they can bring into your business to help make things better. Now, what also happens on the side of the next gen is they want to change everything. They want to come in and be like, what have you been doing? You need to change this, you need to change that. It's wisdom. So there is wisdom on the part of the older generation that you cannot pretend like it didn't work. It worked. It created something. So the next generation should respect that. However, the older generation also should respect the enthusiasm, the tech, revolution, and everything that the new generation or the younger generation is coming with. At the end of the day, we all have something to give. So it's about being able to steward the relationship between the old generation, having appreciation for what the next gen is bringing, and the next generation not also despising the wisdom of the old, because that wisdom built something. If there was nothing, there's nothing you're coming to change or improve. Do you see? So there must be something already, which you acknowledge. It's about how the two will work together. You see that dynamic?
I do. But
it's very delicate.
It is. And I have friends who have, their parents have got so much money and they are trying to take over. And it's a pain, the proper pain. And sometimes it may almost feel as if on the side of the fathers is an ego problem.
They're not willing to let go.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, there's one that the parents are in their 70s, and the main struggle is the fact that I think the parents are simply just trying to protect the business and be able to have enough funds before they pass. They don't want to make the young people to make mistakes so that it kills the business. Then, at 70, they can't
There's
work.
nothing, yes.
Right?
Yes. So sometimes there is ego, there is fear.
Okay.
Imagine you started a business in your 30s as a young man and you built it and today you are 75 and your child is coming on board. So you've spent a significant part of your active work life building this thing. This was your baby. So you had natural baby in form of your children. Now this business is also your baby.
So there's sentiment.
There's sentiment. There is that attachment, that emotional attachment. Which is why I say sometimes it's about each party really just understanding where each person is coming from. And let's give ourselves some grace. It's tough on the part of the older generation as well because there is that struggle of, I hope they don't mess it up. I hope they can do this thing. I hope if I step away, things will not crumble. But you see, I always say to people, start your succession while you're still in there. Because the moment you're looking at putting succession plan in place, when you step out, there's no way you won't have heart palpitation. There's no way you won't sabotage what you're trying to do. Because you will give them the position, but you won't give them the authority.
What's the difference?
Oh, there's a difference. I can give you a role. I can call you my succeeding MD CEO, but every major decision still goes through me.
Oh, yes. It's happening.
Oh, yes. So if any money is going to be signed out of the organization, it comes to me. So at the end of the day, you're more like you're
working for me.
Apart from working, you're just there as a figurehead.
Yeah.
You know you don't have authority. And that frustrates the younger generation a lot. Because they then feel like, okay, you're still running this show. How about you just come back and take your thing? Since you will not allow me to run this show. Do you see? So there is a way we work around this with our clients.
How do you do it?
So there is the angle of family governance, and there's also the angle of succession planning, which double as transition planning for the founding generation, the patriarch or the matriarch, as the case may be. Now, on the family governance side of things, they are already practicing how to make decisions at the family level. You have the family constitution drawn up, which is like the guidebook, the rule book that says this is who we are, this is how we do things, this is how we make decisions, these are the do's and don'ts. This is how we take ownership, these are the things we will never invest in, this is how we will never be represented, this is who we are, these are our values, all those things are there, right? Now, that family constitution drives the family in terms of how they even run their own meetings. So they have board meetings.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a family council that is set up. That's the governing body within the family, of which the children are a part of. So there's already role play happening at the family level before they get to the point where they now work in the business, or the father is thinking of handing over to maybe the child or the children, as the case may be. Now, secondly, as you prepare the children, perhaps maybe while they're still in school, they're doing their masters, or maybe they've already started working somewhere, one of the things you can immediately start to do is to get them to be part of the board, even if they are just there as observers. So they understand how decision-making is made. They even understand daddy in the boardroom, not daddy at home. Do you see what I mean? They understand how business decisions are processed. What are the things that are big consideration before business decisions are taken? So they've been part of that for years. By the time they are there to take over, they already understand certain things. Some things are not just shock to them. Another thing also is, even from the point where your kids are maybe in primary, secondary school, during their summer, whatever, bring them into the office. Let them do internship jobs or whatever, summer jobs. Let them work in the business. Let them get familiar with the business. That naturally even builds their interest. And you see this hiccups that we always find at a point where the father is trying to transition to the son, and the son is wondering, does he even want me? Does he respect my ideas? Does he whatever? It's because you're coming into that thing. It's just like husband and wife just getting married. At the honeymoon phase, everything feels like all rosy. But when that phase is off, there is now friction.
Yes.
Almost like we're tussling for, and the man feels, no, I'm the man. The woman, yes, I know you're the man, but I'm also your wife. Do you see? So it's almost as though we are now tussling for authority, as it were, or whose voice gets heard.
Right.
Do you see? That can be managed when you groom from almost day one. And you're having communication about business without necessarily having the children in the business yet. So once in a while, as the father, ask your children, what do you think about this idea? We're trying to expand to Ghana. We think that the market there is ready for what we are doing, or for our product or our service. What do you think?
I'm not interested.
Aha. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you see? So those kind of things, even whether what they are sharing with you, you're going to use it or not, it just feels like, oh, it thinks that what I have to say matters.
Right.
It has respect for my thoughts, my views. Do you see? Yeah. So when you begin to build that, you're going to be able to manage the whole idea of, does he want me, does he not want me? Because I have a lot of next gens talking to me. And I know that this struggle that you're talking about is very real. Some of them actually want to step into the family business, but they just get frustrated because they feel like, I have a lot to give, but I feel like I'm in handcuffs, or I feel like my voice is not respected. I feel like I have to prove myself. And that alone can be very stressful for some of them.
Can you imagine going to Harvard to study, let's say, business administration or whatever? You come back home to Nigeria, to your father's business, and now you have to work with your father. He is at home, and you always have to go to him for his consent before you can make a decision, and you're on salary, so he's paying you. Now, anything you do, he can step on it and say, accountant, don't pay this guy. Meanwhile, the father's education is not even at the level of yours. He's built it from, from
Hustle.
vibes. Yeah, exactly. Some of these kids are really frustrated. Is it the culture or the big word trust that is the issue?
It's a combination of many things. There is culture. There's the part where the father still feels like, no matter what you know, I'm still your father. And a child should know when he needs to defer to his father. For whatever it is worth, there's the man's ego. That will always be there. Just understand, have the wisdom to know when to defer, even though you know what to do. At the end of the day, the old man may say, oh, by the way, young man, go ahead with this thing. You know what to do. Do you see what I mean? As opposed to you just feeling fly. Like, yeah, I'm now the one in charge. So you don't care what the old man thinks. Once in a while. Secondly, I also feel like the older generation should put structure in place that does not create that one-man structure. If the younger generation coming on board feels like it's still the man that makes the decision at the end of the day, it feels like a trap to them. However, if you have built a business where there is a board that is responsible for decision making, that provides a support system for the young man that is coming on board. Because at the end of the day, even if the father is the chairman, he knows that just one vote does not make a decision.
Abiola?
Yeah.
In the example I gave you from the beginning, the husband and wife, they didn't go to school.
Okay, so there's no question of board or no board.
Who is the board?
Okay, now.
Is the husband and the wife.
That is the board.
They are doing their own thing.
It's okay.
And to them, because they don't have high education level, that's why they took the kids to school abroad.
So in that case, right? In that case.
How do you institutionalize such a business?
So I have people, next gens, who have come to me, who have found themselves in similar situations. What they are now trying to do is to put that board that I spoke about in place, among many other changes that they are trying to put in place. Now, you will get a lot of pushback. You will get a lot of friction. There was a reason they didn't even consider putting a board in place in the first place. Fear of, I don't want anybody all up in my business. I don't want people knowing what I'm doing. I don't want somebody coming to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. I know my business well enough. So they don't have appreciation for those things. You've gone to school. You've gone to the business schools around the world. You understand governance. Now you're trying to put governance in place, controls. You're not speaking this big English.
You're thinking you are better than your parents.
Exactly. That's why I said there is a place of wisdom. Sometimes some of these things, don't try to push it by yourself.
Get people involved.
Get people involved. So you can create a scenario where you get the parents to agree to have consultants come in to help you think through the next phase of growth for the business. Do you see? You know what you're trying to do. You know the changes that are supposed to be happening within the business. But coming from you, they're unlikely going to take it. But coming from a third party that has experience and knowledge and a proven track record of having helped other people build their businesses or scale their business, they're more likely going to listen to it. So that's why I said borrow some wise heads. If there is no board in place, maybe you should get a consultant on board. And that's why I say sometimes some of these conversations are better brokered by an experienced third party.
Right, than the kids and
the
kids
kids themselves. Absolutely, yes.
I have something for you.
Tell me.
The man has 10 kids.
Okay.
6 of them are different mothers.
Okay.
Big business. Over $40 million in revenue every year. How do they deal with that?
It goes back to the family governance structure that I talked about. Africans are, I won't say Africans. Families can be very dynamic and complex sometimes. And in Africa, where you have multiple branches, different wives or multiple wives, or maybe some you didn't really marry, but they gave you children, those complexities happen. And then maybe even blended families. So maybe the wife divorced, the husband divorced, and then they met themselves somewhere, got married, marry other people. And then I have children coming from my own, first marriage. The other person has children coming from his own. So you bring your blended family, and then you also have children. It can be as complex can be. Because families are dynamic, the solution for each family will look different. However, fundamentally, you must have a system in place at the family level that helps you with that, decision making. So, for instance, at the point where you're writing your family constitution, you can say things like, one person can be a representative of every branch and be represented on the board of the business. So, meaning every branch is represented, depending on how many they are. Now, there are criteria to whether you even get to work in a family business. It's not automatic. The fact that you bear the surname of so person does not even make it automatic that you work in the family business.
Okay.
You have inheritance automatically by the reason of the fact that you are a child, right? And naturally, you should be entitled to the wealth, as far as the father wants everybody to be a part of the wealth, right? But whether you get to run the business or to partake in making decisions with the business or within the business is a function of competence. It's a function of skill set.
And that is defined in the Constitution.
Yeah, that is defined. Clear criteria. In fact, some families will say something as high as much as, if you have not done master's level, like your education is not up to master's level, you can't work in the family business. Or if you haven't worked in other businesses for at least up to 3 to 5 years, you can't work in the family business. I mean, different things for different family. You get to define the rules such that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what branch you're coming from. Everybody is bound by the same rules. So you have the criteria that everybody goes through. So it's not about being biased to one person, which is another thing that comes in those kind of situations. Oh, I love this person's mother more than this other person's mother. And the children already feel disadvantaged because they see those things. And that is where conflict starts. Do you see? But if you create a system where everybody understands what the rules are, so for somebody who decides, for instance, not to go to school, maybe drop out of school, and you already know that the criteria to work in daddy's business is this bad.
Right.
You already know that you will be entitled to maybe dividend distribution at the end of the year, depending on how the family decides they want to do that. But that you're going to work in the business, no, it's not going to work.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Konnected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation. Culturally, how has African families passed down family wealth?
Very interesting question. Over time, people have passed it down more culturally than in documentation. So there are people that have cultures that dictate how wealth should be shared. Interestingly, from where I come from in the Yoruba tribe, not all Yorubas actually even follow what I'm about to share, but particularly where I come from, it is the son, right, that actually inherits the father's wealth.
Okay.
So let's say you have 3 children. You have a boy and 2 girls. The girls don't get to inherit their father's wealth. It is the son. So if you pass, the wealth will be shared into 3. The wife, if the wife is still alive, will take 1 part. The man's younger brother will take 1 part. And then his son will take 1 part. So what happens to the daughters? Whatever the mother and the son decide to share with the daughters is what the daughters get. Yes.
Wow.
So different cultures have different norms. You will find in some places in Igbo land, for instance, or maybe even in Hausa land, they will say girls don't inherit wealth because they will go to their husband's house and they will bear their husband's name. So they don't get to decide what happens in their father's house. Do you see what I mean? So these cultural practices, even though they differ from one culture to the other, they sort of over the years have shaped how inheritance is passed. And I think it also explains why wealth is fragmented at a point where it is passed on to the next generation. For those that bother to do a will, right, as good as that is, you still find that doesn't also really fully solve the problem of transgenerational wealth. What a will does for you is a will tells you how you allocate your wealth, how you distribute your wealth. So what it means is you give A so thing, B, C, D. You share it. Now, the people that you have shared your wealth to do not have any obligation to continue to build on it, grow it, scale it. It's now theirs, so they do as they wish with it. So you have children who have moved out of Nigeria for maybe 10 years. They are US citizens or Canadian citizens or UK citizens or whatever, UAE, wherever it is in the world that maybe schooling has taken them to, and then they started working and then they settled there, they built their own families there. Now you are here in Nigeria sharing your properties by way of your will, and you have allocated certain properties to them. Do you think they will leave the UK or the US to come and be managing the properties in Nigeria? There's a likelihood that they are going to sell.
Yes.
That's what we get. And so you will find a prominent family, maybe huge real estate property portfolio, and then the man passes, and within the space of 2 to 3 years or 5 years, everything sold. So there is no transgenerational wealth. It gets fragmented over time. That is for a will that is not contested. Now, where the will is contested, because a will is a public record. Once the owner of the will dies, it becomes a public record. It goes through probate. The court decides, so you get letter of administration so that people can access the wealth and all of those things, right? So it becomes a public record, and through the court process, if somebody feels aggrieved by what they see in the will, they can contest it, and that process can drag things along the way. Now, the process of that conflict resolution or just finding a way around what has been said in the will that somebody does not agree with, it can take years. And the years of those assets not being utilized, they become idle assets that begin to waste away. Nobody is getting the value of these assets. And then sometimes you find some family members just sell some assets, and then things just get fragmented along the way. Value is lost. Value is, disintegrated along the process. So even the will has not fully really solved the problem.
I see.
And I do, tell people it's still the first place to start.
Okay.
At a minimum, write a will. Let's hope it doesn't get, it doesn't get contested to the point where it then scatters the whole thing, right? At a minimum, do a will. But there are other structures that have now come up that, people now use. So you find people now setting up a trust. Now, a trust allows you to not necessarily distribute your wealth, but have it together within a structure. And then the wealth is stewarded, is managed, is grown for the benefit of the beneficiaries. So the wealth is owned by nobody, but it's owned by all. So there's no one person that can make a claim on anything. But the wealth is managed by a trustee who manages the wealth on behalf of the beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries get the dividends. So there is a portion of that dividend that is distributed, maybe at the end of the year, maybe quarterly, or maybe as already stated in the trust deed. Do you see? That way, the second generation comes into that wealth. They can continue to grow it and grow it and grow it. And then the third generation comes, it continues to grow. So no one person can say, I want to sell the family house, or I want to sell the business, or I want to sell this thing or sell that thing. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
So that is now a more sophisticated way by which people are transferring wealth from one generation to the other. There is trusts, there is foundation, there is holding companies, there are many other structures that people use.
You're going to go through it. I have a personal interest in this conversation. So if you don't have a personal interest in this, I'm sorry. I have a personal interest in this. So everything you've described, if you were to do a hierarchy of what is the most important document, process, system to put in place for me, Derek, to protect my wealth, what would it be?
I think, first of all, you have to, which is what I say every time, you have to put structure behind your wealth. Yes. And I know that that's kind of vague. What structure?
Yeah, what is it?
So when you think about your ability to transfer your wealth to somebody or to a beneficiary, the question is, wealth that you hold in your personal name and wealth that you hold in a structure other than you, which one is likely going to be easier when you're no longer there?
The other one, not in my personal name.
So one of the ways that we first, just get people to structure their wealth is don't own your assets in your
So
personal
I'm
name.
buying a land at Airport Hills.
You create a special purpose vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
A new company.
Yeah.
And then I buy it in the name of the company.
Absolutely.
But then that means that I need to pay corporate tax on that.
So the truth is that if the business is non-operating, meaning it's not generating any revenue, there's no tax to pay.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? So sometimes people structure a trust and they have special purpose vehicles that they use to hold specific assets, and then they transfer that to the trust. So the trust is the overarching vehicle that holds everything, but through these SPVs. SPVs is special purpose vehicles. Sometimes you can also transfer all your assets directly into the trust. By the way, trust as a legal vehicle also gives some tax benefits as well, apart from the fact that it keeps your asset private. It doesn't go through probate. Nobody gets to know about your business. Do you see what I mean? It's very private. All you have is appoint a corporate trustee in this case that manages the affairs. So you have the trust deed that already sets out how your affairs should be managed, how your wealth should be stewarded, what part of it should be distributed, what part should be reinvested. All of those things are already there. And what people now do in these days is that they set up a living trust, meaning that you set up these structures while you're still alive. And you can even appoint yourself as a trustee.
Okay.
So in that case, you're still making decisions as far as what should happen within the, with the assets that you've transferred to the trust. You that is transferring assets into a trust, you are called the settlor. Ideally, you are ceding your ownership of those assets to this vehicle. Do you see? But if you appoint yourself as a trustee, in that case, you are still able to make decisions like you are the trustee, you're the one managing and taking instruction from the settlor, which is you. However, what you should also do is that you must appoint a corporate trustee upon your demise. So that can be stated in your trust deed to say, if anything happens, the corporate trustee, so, whatever company takes over, and they are aware.
Papa thinks about all of these things and he says that, man, let me make my life easy. I chop what I can when I'm going. I give each one of you 10 million each.
Do you know what some people are doing right now? Before they die, they already share everything.
That's it.
Why that gives you peace of mind in terms of, well, I've shared it for everybody, do whatever you like with it. What then happens also is that this question of transgenerational wealth does not become a reality.
He said this is back case. He don't die already.
Do you see? Because people are looking for different ways around this thing. Do you think someone like Dangote, do you think he can do that?
No. I mean, he could if he wanted to, but he can't. I mean, he's already started putting the daughters together, right?
Forget about it. The wealth here is huge. How much can you possibly share to each person?
Right.
You've built some. You see, the only reason you're able to say, let me just share it to everybody, is because we're talking a few properties here. How much do you have at stake, really? But you've built businesses that are institutionalized. Think about the major banks in Nigeria. Do you know that many of them are family businesses?
I see.
Oh, yes. Apart from the fact that they've now taken those businesses public. You now have, public investors who have invested, they're now shareholders and everything. At the core, when those banks started, they were family businesses. And the people that started, they still have some significant stake in the businesses. Do you see? So can they say now that, I'm going to just share it to everybody? Let's even say your business is not publicly listed. But your business has become so successful that you are a public interest entity. You're not publicly listed, but it's so significant to the economy that the business should not go down.
Yes.
You can't afford to just say you will that kind of business to a child. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So when you build wealth that has gotten to a certain level, you will begin to think about sophisticated ways to ensure that that thing perpetuates and is sustainable 100 years to come, irrespective of who the owners are. Those businesses don't come under any threat.
As a matter of fact, sometimes even when you sell it, there's so much money, you can't chop it up before you die.
Do you see what I mean?
Right.
So, there's also the opportunity of deciding to sell some of these things if you want to sell it. But we're talking about transgenerational wealth here. If that is your goal, then there is no shortcut. No shortcut, unfortunately.
You have to follow through the systems.
You have to put the structures in place.
In a the Akans in Ghana, we don't joke with our uncles, the men. So the nephews are like, so there's this family that none of the children is interested, right? They're all almost like a complete mess. So he's now grooming his nephew to try to see whether he'll be interested. This problem, like, it's at the core of, our culture, tradition. It's a huge problem for us.
Let me tell you something. There's something that I think Africans need to begin to take their minds away from. This idea of family must run the business, because it's not compulsory. And we limit ourselves a lot if we fixate on the fact that my children have to run the business. It's not compulsory. Focus on building a business that is so structured, so well institutionalized. If you take it to any part of the world, it can compete in terms of best practices, and then bring in best-in-class experts to come and run the show. Let your children stay with ownership.
Yeah.
What I usually say to people is, don't allow a child that is not interested in your business to necessarily come and operate your business. Give them ownership instead. They know that they are owners of the business. They can be represented on the board in terms of decision making. The board is responsible for, steering the direction of the business. The management is responsible to the board. So if family members are on the board, they get to know what is going on with the business. If you now have a governance system at the family level, like a family council, right? There is also the opportunity for the family during their meetings to have the businesses present the state of the business to them. So they get to know what is going on with the business. So that is a good structure for perpetuating wealth that does not necessarily put a chain on the children's neck that you must necessarily work in it. It's not compulsory.
In fact, someone even said that, all I want is just give me 1 million so that I can go and do my own project. Mm-hmm. And then you can do your thing.
Yeah. If that is what it is, then it is what it is. Let's not kill ourselves over the fact that, I want my children, they must be a part of it and all of that. They don't have to. If you find any of your children that is absolutely interested and they're willing to go through whatever it is that they need to go through to be schooled, to become experienced, and they have the skill to be able to grow the business, fantastic. If you don't have it, it is what it is. But it doesn't mean the end of the business. It means that you are building something that can stand the test of time, that is structured enough that other people would want to, with their Harvard degree, still want to come and work in the business.
Is there any vital information that you still think people need to understand when it comes to wealth?
I think for me, it's really the idea of people not thinking that because they have money today, they're going to have money tomorrow. There's nothing sacrosanct in the fact that, I have lots of money today. And the fact that you have a lot of money in your bank account is not also automatically wealth. There are different types of wealth. What a lot of people focus on is financial wealth. A lot of people don't know that what really holds that wealth is the values at the end of the day. If you don't give your children the values that created that wealth in the first place, that wealth is bound to, it's just a matter of time, it's bound to be depleted. So if there is anything that I want to leave people with, is the fact that wealth that is unstructured will naturally get depleted. And by structure, I mean from the legal structure to the way you structure the transfer of that wealth, to the values that you must necessarily pass on to the people that are going to inherit the wealth. Don't expect that because you've given them a lot of money or because you're leaving a lot of money for them, the wealth can never be depleted. Remember the likes of MKO Abiola and many other names that we know in Nigeria, whose wealth felt like till thy kingdom come. But today, none of that. We can't point to anything. Do you see what I mean? So there is fundamentally the need to structure your wealth, but more importantly, the need to prepare the inheritors of the wealth. How bigger your wealth is going to get beyond you is going to be a function of the capacity of the people you have left it with to steward it and grow it to become bigger.
I have learned so much. And I've got some really big people who would find a lot of value in this. I just hope that each of them, when they watch this episode, they will find your details in the description and contact you, because you can help them put it together properly without a fear.
Absolutely. It's the work we do across the African continent. We'll be more than happy to help.
And to my viewers and to my listeners, if you found value in this and you made it to the end, I'd love you to drop a comment and let me know that you are one of my champions. My name is Derek Abaite, and I hope you enjoy this.